Dr. Mystic, and welcome to this episode of the St. Jude Thaddeus story. And I want to mention my two books again. We have, based on the docudrama, St. Jude Thaddeus and the Legend of the Shroud, which is this one. And this is our feature film. St. Jude Thaddeus and the Legend of the Shroud is the feature film, which is directed by my brother, and he portrayed the Apostle St. Jude Thaddeus. And the other book is the St. Jude Thaddeus storybook with Toby Vera playing St. Jude. And this is full of photographs from the movie project. And I think both these books are very educational and professional. And I want to talk about, in this program, other books written about St. Jude Thaddeus. We're going to have some video clips. I'm going to have a message to St. Jude derived from the ancient sources. When I made this film project that we used the storybook on, almost every word that Jude speaks is from ancient sources in that version. You know, I didn't create dialogue. I just took it from the accounts, ancient accounts of his life. So I'm working on that. I'm going to have that movie out by St. Jude's Day this year. And St. Jude's relics are touring the country. And I was able to meet and speak to Father Carlos Martins. And he is I guess he's an evangelist for the Catholic Church. And he's also an exorcist. And he has a top-rated podcast called The Exorcist Files. So he also wrote a book because he's kind of supervising, in a sense, he is the director of the tour of the relics across the country. And he's well known for The Exorcist Files. And to accompany the tour, he wrote a short book called The Apostle of the Impossible, St. Jude Thaddeus, a biography of the saint, information on his relics and prayers. So it's pretty good. It's got a basic overview of his life based on ancient sources. Now, I think there does need to be some clarification. He describes King Abgar as an Armenian, and like I said, there's a lot of shared dual nationalities, I guess. But fundamentally, King Abgar was an Aramaic speaker, spoke the Aramaic dialect of Syriac, and Edessa, the city he ruled, was basically a region in Assyria. So I can concede that there's possibly ways you could identify King Abgar as Armenian, but I think essentially his nationality was Assyrian. But it's not necessarily to quibble over the ethnicity or nationality of King Abgar, but certainly he's speaking the liturgical language of the Assyrian Church of the East and the Chaldean Catholic, Syriac. That's the language of Edessa. It's a Semitic language. It's the language of Jesus Christ. So whatever his Armenian connections were, the language he's speaking is Aramaic, the language of Jesus Christ, and the language of the Assyrian people. So this is a good book. Of course, he does, as a Catholic, he's endorsing the intercession of the saints. And this talks about the 2003-2004 pilgrimage of St. Jude's Arm. So this is a good book to get. And I want to mention a book by someone else about St. Jude that I'm going to get a copy of. And I'm evangelical. I'm not Roman Catholic, and when I write a book, it's going to be ecumenical. So I'm writing a book for all Christian denominations that are doctrinally and biblically sound, that are true to the apostolic tradition and to the Bible. So that's my goal when I write a book is to contain the essential truths of the gospel. So I have there's a Spanish devotee of St. Jude Thaddeus. His name is JudeS5E16, and he wrote a book on St. Jude called Heaven Help Us Now. So he calls St. Jude God's first responder. Now, I have 30 years of military service. I want to talk about JudeS here. JudeS5E16. He's a longtime devotee of St. Jude Thaddeus and has extensive expertise in problem solving through prayer. He's a combat veteran with 20 years of military experience, 10 of which were served with the legendary Fighting 69th. I think it's the Fighting Irish, and we had Route Irish that I would have to go through when I was in Baghdad. That's the main thoroughfare down Baghdad. And both my deployments, I was in Baghdad. He has garnered widespread attention and support for his campaign to rescue his bomb dog, Bring Canine Maddie Home. I have a German Shepherd. Over the years, I love animals. I'm a cat and dog person. And my two favorite breeds are German Shepherds and American Staffordshire Terriers, otherwise known as pit bulls. I know they got a bad reputation, but I've had some very good pit bulls, and I love that breed. But growing up, that's what I've had. I've had German Shepherds. My earliest memory of a dog is our German Shepherd Frida. And dogs are wonderful animals, especially service dogs. Of course, right now I have a German Shepherd, 2-year-old German Shepherd named Baron. But, we actually, in Arab culture, they don't, it's interesting, they seem to like dogs in Egypt, but a lot of Muslims look down at dogs and mistreat them because Muhammad didn't like dogs. But Arabs, you have, was it the Saluki? You have the Arabian Greyhound. That's that type of dog might be mentioned in the Bible. So what happened is Muhammad's like, I don't like dogs. And these Arabian sheep herders like, we need our dogs. So he had to walk back his condemnation of dogs. But because Muhammad didn't like dogs, a lot of Muslims don't like dogs, even though he was pressured to make an exception. It's like, how can we get rid of our dogs? We need them. They're service animals. They help us. They're working dogs. They help us with sheep herding. So anyway, go to the Middle East and in Iraq sometimes. It's not just, you see it around the world. Animals, cats and dogs suffering. It breaks my heart because I'm an animal lover. I can talk about stories about animals in Iraq, but I'm glad he's able to work to get his dog. He should take care of our dogs. As a historian, soldier, and Irish language activist, Seamus has been featured on Fox News and the Smithsonian Channel in the US and RTE, TG4, and BBC in Ireland. To learn more, you can visit him at his website, which I'll have to put on the screen. So he's been a good friend of mine, online friend. God bless him. God bless his work with St. Jude Thaddeus. And I think it's very interesting with the Irish language. I guess they speak these Celtic languages in certain places in Scotland and in Ireland, of course, as well. Kind of the indigenous relics, the indigenous language before. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, our forebears and Frisians, invaded England, what became England, Britain. And I guess our forefathers gave it its name, the Angles and Saxons and Jutes and Frisians. So we're Germanic people, and the Celtic people, they're Indo-European, but they're not Germanic. So it's interesting. Language study is a very interesting subject. So please continue to pray. Now, in the end of this video, I'm going to show some footage from my visit to St. Jude Thaddeus' relics, the arm of St. Jude. And remember, I want to get the feature film out as well, but we have it where St. Jude is dismembered according to some traditions. And my brother, we went through a lot of trouble, St. Jude getting his arm chopped off in his martyrdom. And I think that's interesting that we filmed the dismemberment of St. Jude, which is kind of horrific. And then we have this arm, which we depicted as being dismembered, traveling the country. And I want to finesse the St. Jude Thaddeus and the Legend of the Shroud film. I want to finesse both of them. So, we need to engage the culture, and film's a way to do it. It's a way to educate people on the life of St. Jude. So please pray for this project. God would help us to complete it. I'm sorry I have a sneak preview out, and we have scenes from the films, but we need to just make it out, put it out there, so that anybody in the public can access it. But one of the problems is, they shadow ban my channel. They took one of my channels down, and they're shadow banning this channel. So it's hard to get traction the way I want to, and they're running algorithms against me because I'm a conservative. And Google's ran, and Google owns YouTube now. I think the federal government should intervene and break up that monopoly, because Google is representing a threat to our constitutional system by engaging in censorship. And sadly, it's not just Google doing the censorship. The FBI is in on it, and the FBI is doing viewpoint discrimination, repressing conservative Republican points of view, and just establishing the left-wing Marxist narrative. And we need to break up and disband the FBI. So other projects I'm working on. I've got several chapters of the legendary exploits of the 12 apostles. I'm working on a manuscript right now. And I want to do a book similar, a small book like this, similar to what Father Carlos Martins wrote, called Who is St. Jude? Probably be the same length. And, respectful of the Catholic perspective, but ecumenical, which means that, evangelicals and Orthodox and the Assyrian Church of the East, readers from different denominations can be blessed and edified thereby. So stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for further episodes. And thank you, and God bless you.
Jesus of Nazareth was a man attested by God through miracles, wonders, and signs which God did through him. This man was handed over to wicked men, who put him to death by nailing him to the cross. But God raised him from the dead, freeing him from the agony of death, because it is impossible for death to keep his hold on him. Give heed to this faith which you hold, and with fear and trembling continue in it day by day. Do not be lazy or lackadaisical in your faith. Practice your religion with sincerity of faith. Do not let the praises of Messiah cease from your mouth. Pray without ceasing. Stand upon the surety of the rock of your hope and the new heritage of salvation that I have committed to you. So do not be like the pagans who guide their lives by the stars in the sky. Guide your lives by the word of God that is written upon your hearts. You will all stand before the tribunal of the Messiah, give an account of your lives. God sees and will judge those who are unfaithful. For Christ is the Son of King. He has gone to receive a kingdom, and he will come, and there will be great resurrection of the living and the dead, and all men will come before him. And then he will sit upon the throne of his righteousness, and judge the living and the dead, as he said to us. Do not close your minds in your pride. Be wary of putting a stumbling block in the way of who would otherwise not stumble. Seek out those who are lost. Direct those who have gone astray. Rejoice in those who have found direction. Bind up the bruised. Guard the little ones. Do not look for the honor that will pass away. Defend the poor man from the oppression of the rich. The grievous scourge of poverty is difficult to endure. Do not be seduced by the wicked devices of Satan, lest you be put to shame and stripped of the salvation with which you have clothed yourself. In the day in which we depart from this world, then on the day of the Lord, before his righteous judgment, there he will restore us to our inheritance, as he has told us, an everlasting reward in the kingdom of heaven. You that have eyes see. Do not be like those who see but cannot perceive the truth. You that have ears hear. Do not be the one that hears but does not listen. Those who are blind and deaf are not to be blamed. But for those who choose not to look or listen, judgment awaits. The dark cloud of error is cast over the minds of many, but it can be dispelled by the light of heaven. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Repent, therefore, my beloved, of your evil ways and sinful actions. Instead, turn yourselves towards him, as he has turned towards you, with the favors of his rich grace and mercies. Let those who have accepted the word of Messiah, I ask you to come forward now and remain with us, and those who are willing to join with us in prayer, and afterwards let them go home.